Tonight's discussion is entitled Honoring Our Legacy of Service. And we are really excited about the panelists we have joining us tonight, and of course our moderator, Dr. Oakley, as well. First, let me share with you that Dean Costello did plan to be here this evening. He was at an all-day meeting off campus today that has turned into an evening meeting as well, that he was not expecting to go quite this long. So he sends his apologies. He was making every effort to be here, and it was just a few minutes prior that he realized he was not going to get out of that meeting in time. So I'm Jim Earle. I'm the Associate Dean for Strategic Development and Operations at the school. And I have the pleasure tonight of introducing Dr. Oakley, our host and moderator for this very important discussion. Dr. Oakley probably needs no introduction because of her long and distinguished history at our school, but I'll tell you a little bit about her anyway. After graduating from the School of Dental Medicine in 1992, Dr. Oakley served a 4-year active duty tour as a dental officer in the United States Navy, along with her husband, Jeff, who was also adjunct faculty at the school, part-time faculty at the school. She was initially stationed at the Naval Station Great Lakes, now home of the U.S. Navy's only boot camp and recruit training command. In this role, she was part of a team of healthcare providers that offered dental services to over 20,000 sailors, Marines, and soldiers. Her remaining 3 years of active duty service occurred at the Marine Corps Air Station, Cherry Point, 12th Dental Company, where she enjoyed supporting over 8,000 Marines and sailors, often from a satellite clinic located adjacent to the tarmac on the flight line. Sounds like an interesting place to practice dentistry, for sure. Here at the School of Dental Medicine, Dr. Oakley has served in countless leadership roles, most notably her role today as Senior Associate Dean. She is no stranger to the subject of leadership and has a history of offering consulting services and seminars on various leadership topics to academicians across the country. She is also a certified executive coach from the Berkeley Executive Coaching Institute. And just on a personal note, I'll share that Dr. Oakley is one of the main reasons that I decided after 27 years serving the university in other roles to move to the School of Dental Medicine. The opportunity to work with a leader of her caliber and quality and integrity was just too appealing to pass up. It was a great decision. It's been a wonderful 1.5 years working with her. I hold her in the highest regard and respect her leadership abilities so much. Thank you for agreeing to host this panel discussion. Thank you for your service to Pitt, to our country, and to the School of Dental Medicine. Dr. Oakley.
Creepers. Thank you, Jim. That was really very sweet. I so enjoy working with you too. You know that. So grateful. So listen, I have to tell everyone, when I knew I was going to introduce 5 powerhouses of the military, I said to myself, if we don't get abridged bio sketches, we won't get through a whole hour. So I really want to thank our esteemed panelists for honoring that request and taking their illustrious careers down to a couple paragraphs. And even with that, I routinely hate to read a bio word for word, but you all have such impressive bios that I really want to do them justice. So please bear with me as I introduce our wonderful panelists tonight. And I'll tell you, order matters in the military. So I'm going in alphabetical order. So we're going to start here, even though we of course have ranks going on, and we're going to start in alphabetical order. Seemed like the easiest for me to do. I'm going to start with Brigadier General Sean Bagby. Brigadier General Bagby earned his bachelor degree in physics from Rutgers University on an ROTC scholarship. Following that, he earned his DMD degree from the University of Pittsburgh, a master's degree in healthcare administration from Baylor University, and a master's degree in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College. He completed his OMFS training at Martin Luther King Jr. Drew Medical Center in Los Angeles and fellowship training in OMS trauma surgery at the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston. Brigadier General Bagby has served in several leadership positions, including Commanding General of Brooke Army Medical Center and Deputy Market Director and the Chairman and Program Director of the Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery Residency Program, both at Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston. He's a graduate of the Army Medical Department Officer, Basic and Advanced Courses, Airborne Course, U.S. Army Command and General Staff College, and U.S. Army War College. Brigadier General Bagby has earned several military awards and decorations. He holds the Army Surgeon General's A Proficiency Designator and is a member of the Order of Military Medical Merit. He's a fellow of the American Association of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons and is board certified by the American Board of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery. So we welcome you, Brigadier General Bagby. Thank you for being here. Next, Rear Admiral Rick Friedman, a native of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Rear Admiral Friedman is currently the 39th Director of the Navy Dental Corps. He received his Bachelor of Science and DMD degree at the University of Pittsburgh and has served as the commanding officer of NATO Role 3 Multinational Medical Unit, Kandahar Airfield in Afghanistan in support of Operation Freedom's Sentinel and Operation Resolute support. He also served as the commanding officer of the Naval Hospital Camp Lejeune, for which I was off of at Cherry Point 12th Dental Company, so that was great, in North Carolina, strategically laying the foundation for its pivotal and future redesign as a medical center. He was the executive officer of the U.S. Naval Hospital in Okinawa, Japan, where he oversaw the facility's historic transition to its new location aboard Camp Foster. Some of his other significant duties and leadership roles include serving as the Assistant Deputy Chief of Healthcare Operations as the Navy's illustrious Bureau of Medicine and Surgery, where he was the Navy's medicine project lead for the transformation activities that led to the implementation of the 2017 and 19 National Defense Authorization Acts. Rear Admiral Friedman also served as the executive assistant to the Navy Surgeon General. Dr. Friedman is a fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives and is a member of the Interagency Institute for Federal Healthcare Executives. He's a diplomat of the American Board of General Dentistry, a fellow of the International College of Dentists and the Academy of General Dentistry. Thank you, Dr. Friedman, for being here and representing the Navy as well. Woo. Colonel Peter Rivera from the class of 1992, which I know very well, my classmate. Welcome, Pete. Colonel Pete Rivera is a 1987 graduate of St. Vincent College and a 1992 graduate, of course, of the School of Dental Medicine here at Pitt. He also did a one-year GPR and a one-year hospital dentistry fellowship at UPMC. Colonel Rivera's military career started in 1993 with an appointment to the Army Reserve. His active duty career started in October of 1994. The highlights of Colonel Rivera's career include assignments with the 82nd Airborne Division and the 3rd Special Forces Group. Aside from being a fully qualified paratrooper, Colonel Rivera is also a senior rated jump master. Deployments during his career include operational deployments to Bosnia and Nigeria, as well as combat deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq. The second half of Colonel Rivera's military career has been as an educator. He has served as both assistant program director and program director at several Army residency programs. Ultimately, Colonel Rivera was appointed chief of the Army Graduate Dental Education and dean of the Army Postgraduate Dental School in 2017. He holds the position of dean, but has served primarily as the Army Dental Corps branch specific proponent officer since 2020. Welcome, Dr. Rivera. Thank you for coming. Dr. Priscilla Hamilton, Colonel, U.S. Army retired. Dr. Hamilton, a native of Erie, Pennsylvania, and master beekeeper, as I hear, received her bachelor's degree from Pennsylvania State University, and she obtained her DMD from here, University of Pittsburgh School of Dental Medicine. She earned a master's in healthcare administration from Baylor University and a master's of strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College. Colonel Hamilton's 33 years of active service includes numerous operational assignments across the globe. Within the U.S., she served in Oklahoma, Alabama, North Carolina, Virginia, DC, Texas, and Alaska, as well as internationally in Korea and Germany. After serving as the commander of the U.S. Army Dental Command, where she was responsible for all Army oral health care and dental clinics around the world, her final assignment was Chief of Graduate Dental Education and Dean, Army Postgraduate Dental School. She's a veteran of Desert Shield, Desert Storm, serving with the 257th Medical Detachment and the 5th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. As an officer, Colonel Hamilton was highly awarded and decorated. Currently, she is a master in the Academy of General Dentistry, a fellow in the International College of Dentists, the American College of Dentists, and the American College of Healthcare Executives. She's a University of Pittsburgh Dental Medicine's distinguished alum and a legacy laureate of the University of Pittsburgh, and received the University of Pittsburgh 225th medallion. She is an emerita professor of the Uniformed Services University and was named a Penn State Alumni Fellow in 2019. Today, Dr. Hamilton resides in Erie, Pennsylvania, maintains an active dental license, is involved in several community and volunteer organizations. Thank you for coming, Dr. Hamilton. Thank you. Great to have you here. Dr. Teresa Heaton, sorry. Originally born in rural Pennsylvania, which I know, Dr. Heaton graduated from the University of Scranton, where she completed her Bachelor's of Science degree. She then went on to graduate from Pitt Dental Medicine in 2005, notably, as I recall, as the class president. While
3 years.
You did your service before you did your service.
No kidding.
While completing basic training at Fort Sam Houston, she joined a team of fellow servicemen and women to offer dental services to civilian community members in greatest need at Lackland Air Force Base. Dr. Heaton also served as a dental officer at Brown Dental Clinic, Fort Rucker, Alabama, and at Caldwell Dental Clinic, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. As servicemen and women returned from assignments outside the U.S., she was attached to the 6th RTB in Camp Rudder, again, working alongside her Air Force colleagues at Eglin Air Force Base to help these soldiers and aviators be dentally ready and prepared for their next assignments. Dr. Heaton offered dental services for support for crucial dental corps personnel displaced from Fort Gordon in DC and in Camp Shelby, Mississippi. Her final duty station was Fort Benning, Georgia, where she took assignments at both Love and Solomon, DC, the latter of which where she ran the 30th Adjunct General. Dr. Heaton had spent 8 years in the U.S. Army Reserves, where she was attached to the 54th Medical Battalion in Saginaw, Texas.
And I actually do want to thank Colonel Hamilton because she coined me while I was at Fort Benning, and this is actually from her.
Oh, that's the best.
Wow.
That's the
That's an
best.
amazing legacy.
So you coined me. I keep it in my purse at all times, Southeast Region Command.
Do I have to buy you a drink now, Teresa?
So this is my favorite part of your bio, Teresa. In honor of her family's tradition of military services, she kept her maiden name, Smatrisky, acknowledging. Did I say it wrong?
No, you said it perfectly.
Okay, I even looked it up because I was worried I was going to say it wrong.
Everyone just called me Ski. They just gave up as soon as I saw the letters together, and I went, well, that's what it is. Yeah, Smotrisky.
She kept her maiden name, acknowledging the gateway of her family's service and what it had to do with obtaining U.S. citizenship in the 1930s and 40s. Dr. Heaton currently resides in Texas, where she's been in private practice for the last 16 years. Thank you very much, Dr. Heaton, for being.
Thank you.
Wow. I need a little bit of a drink after that. That was a lot, right? Can't thank you all enough for being here. So we're going to get into some what I hope is some robust conversation. And what I'd love to do is just kind of start with getting you to circle in on the memory of choosing to embark on a military career. Everybody has their stories, and I'd love to have you think about that and think about how it overlaps potentially with some Pitt alums or some really important people that you coincide with University of Pittsburgh, whether it's University of Pittsburgh proper or dental medicine, when you made that decision to go into your role in service for us. So I'd like to start with Brigadier General Bagby. You can unmute. Maybe you can get us.
So Marnie, you're asking, so if I heard the question correctly, you're asking about the intersectionality between the decision to join the service and the decision to go to Pitt, or what we experienced at Pitt. Is that correct?
So you can, that's fine. But really what I was asking is, when you decided to go into the military, was there anyone at Pitt that kind of helped you make that decision, or some experiences at Pitt that helped you make that decision to embark on a career in military service?
No, I mean, that's a great question, because so my source of commissioning was originally ROTC. And so when I went to University of Pittsburgh, I went as a reservist, but wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I had several really good faculty members, and like Dr. Laith Bowen, OMS, Dr. Alonzo McDonald, God rest his soul, who was a former paratrooper in World War II. People, Dr. Braun, right, who were very calm, very collected. Nothing scared them, just people of character. And it reminded me of why I enjoyed the military service: the camaraderie, the ability to function in an environment where things are not always cut and dry. Let's put it that way. And when I left Pitt, I went out to California to residency, and then when I finished my residency program, I wanted to come on active duty because, quite frankly, I did not see private practice being the immediate road for me. But I really enjoyed the camaraderie, and obviously, while on active duty, I came across various mentors who were Pitt grads, like Colonel Hamilton, who was one of my mentors on active duty, who really helped provide a source of understanding, of mentorship. And at the end of the day, that's what people really want, is to feel a sense of belonging, and a sense that what they do is important and who they are matters.
That's great. Thank you for that. And we all recognize too, you can have time in ROTC, and it doesn't always reflect in a military career. It's a gateway, certainly, but there still are choices, and I think a lot of civilians don't necessarily realize that. Pete Rivera, any remarks related to that? Your choice to go into the military, and anyone from Pitt?
Yeah, it was. I can pinpoint it directly to one person. When I did my GPR, the program director was George Sen, who was retired military. He pulled me aside one day and he goes, "Did you ever think about being in the Army?" And I'm like, I said, "Well, I had applied for the scholarship, but they didn't have any back in that day. They only had 5 for the entire country." And he looked at me and goes, "You'd be a great fit for the Army." He goes, "The way you do your business and the way you conduct yourself, you would be successful no matter what you tried in the military." So I initially joined the Army Reserve while I was, one of his residents. And then he sent me off to my officer basic course. And I said, "You know what? I think I might want to try this full time at least once." So the objective was to go live in Germany, do one tour, and then go back and take over Dad's practice. Well, it turns out after 3 years in Germany, the Army was a really good fit for me. And now it's been 28 years. So you never know what direction your life's going to take. I love Pittsburgh, it's home. But, when I did my GPR, I wanted to see something beyond Western Pennsylvania. And I've done that and then some. So I'll say that, had I not crossed paths with George Seng, my life might have been a lot different.
That's a great story. I'll quickly just share with you, George Seng had a lot to do with me, considering that my choice as well. Not that I had the career that any of you have, but it was still, it's interesting how paths cross. And thank goodness we all know, many of us know Pete Rivera's father, and know that how wonderful it is for you to have such an understanding and supportive parent complex there, to know that you weren't going to come back right away to practice, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think Dad was happy I didn't come back.
I don't believe that for a second. That's awesome. That's awesome. Dr. Friedman, love to hear from you.
Well, thanks, Marnie. And it's hard to follow such esteemed colleagues with such noble purposes and drive. You got to remember, for me, mid 80s, 87, Top Gun was really big in the movies at that time. And that seemed like, wow, that seems really fun. We can go fly jets. That's only about 60% true. But I love hearing these names. The best part of this call so far is just to relive those great names. Dr. McDonald, Dr. Braun. I know there's a lot of Army slant to that, so I'll give you the Navy version. We had Dr. Capriano was always talking about Navy. We had a retired Rear Admiral, Admiral Koch, as Associate Dean at the time. So we had a lot of exposure, all of us, I think, at the same to the same mentors. But really what got us is someone arranged a Navy recruiter to come on board in our sophomore year. And I'll tell you what, started talking about practice opportunities, advanced education, mentorship, really incredible experiences, duty stations that were close to the beach. Sorry for my Army colleagues. So I got to really go back and talk to that recruiter, because there were 5 of us that signed up from that. We just were talking about Dr. Engelhardt. So I really want to go either thank that recruiter or see what was in that brief that made us choose a life of service there too. But it's really, 5. It's incredible.
5. In your class, Rick, you had 5?
5. And what's that?
Can you name them?
Yeah, Dave Engelhardt, Carrie Dobbins Speck,
Great.
Jamie Tomchek, Friedman, and boy, oh boy, I'll have to go back. I'll have to check my yearbook to see who my 5th
Throw
was.
it in the chat if you can
And
remember.
4 went to one duty station, and I went to Camp Lejeune. So I felt a little left out, but what an incredible start to an incredible journey.
Great. That's great sharing. I really appreciate it.
Eric Shirley.
Eric Shirley. That's right. You're right. Wow, that's a big percentage from one class for sure. For sure. Pete, I think we only had 3. Well, no, 4 if you count Jeff. We should count Jeff, shouldn't we?
Actually, coincidentally, I actually had a conversation with Mel Jugan today.
He's our 4th from our
Yep.
class, right?
He called me for some advice because he's in private practice and he had a question.
Joe Palermo was your other one.
We had
Yep.
5 too. Rick Friedman. You're like the Census Bureau of military careers in the 90s from the dental school. That's awesome. Dr. Hamilton, I'd love to hear about your experiences when you went into the military, and you took with you, of course, your Pitt experiences and your Pitt training. And I'd love to hear how they compared and what you thought of that when you were at your first duty station.
Well, like many, I went to an AEGD 1-year program at Fort Sill, where you're combined with 7 other residents from different schools. And of course, you come into the service with the Pitt way, but people who come from Michigan come in with the Michigan way or the Creighton way. And everyone thinks that their way is the best. And then you start to realize that there are a number of different approaches to solving problems. And you grow so much from that cross-leveling, I think, amongst graduates from other schools. But I am very thankful for the very practical, broad, and just solid education I got from Pitt, because it really set me up for success in my early years of practice.
Yeah, that's great perspective too, just to see all those various levels of and approaches to care, and feel comfortable with what you have and what you're bringing to the table for them too. Dr. Heaton, how do you feel when you went to your first duty station and what you were bringing with you as far as skills and experience were concerned?
Going there kind of felt a little overwhelming at first. You're a new dentist, and at the time they had just changed licensure where they required it. So there was a lot of stress trying to make sure all your bells and whistles were together. But, believe it or not, I was stationed with Colonel Bob Manga. So it kind of made things better because I had Pitt in the house as soon as I showed up. So it did make it a little bit easier for me. But I will say that when it came to looking at, some of the other dentists that were there that were young captains, Pitt made it a little bit more, like you said, prepared. We had started doing PBRs and things like that when I was there in like 2003, 2004. And, I barked about it. I was on curriculum committee. I had lots of strong opinions on what I thought they were doing. But to be honest with you, the preparation, and not just the dentistry, I think Pitt dentists have a much stronger clinical strength than a lot of my other colleagues that didn't graduate from Pitt. So shame on them. But more importantly, what I really think that Pitt did is it actually made you a better problem solver medically. I think Pitt students are sharper. And we're a little bit more well-rounded. You know, everyone goes, oh, well, you're just a dentist. I'm like, okay, well, I just caught an arrhythmia on my blood pressure cuff, and I know these 4 meds might be causing it. But yeah, you know what, just a dentist, you're welcome. So I just think that, you know, I think Pitt dentists are sharper. And I think that the military makes you sharper. You have so many opportunities for training that it just builds on that solid foundation you got at Pitt.
Yeah, indeed, right? It's so hard. I can tell you from leaving the military and trying to leave that. What's one of the things that I loved about teaching was that I still had a team and a cohort of people that I practiced with, that you could, back in the day, put a set of x-rays in front of them and talk to them about a case. And in private practice, poof, they were gone. They vanished.
Well, you do have a lot of family,
right?
I will tell you, that is the biggest thing you're going to miss if you leave the military. And, you know, I don't regret my life choices. It got me to where I am. So I make no mistake that all the choices I've decided on, I stand behind. But one of the things you're going to miss going from the dental corps is your dental family. You know, private practice is not your neighbor coming down here going, hey, you want to talk about this case or anything else? No, you're in competition. They work against you. It's the only set of providers I've ever seen that don't always want to come together. And, you know, dental school is different. You get out in private practice, it's dog eat dog. And in the military, it's not. You have so much more support than you do when you're on your own.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, right? And so much related to training. It just blew my doors off how you could be paid to go for training for a week and not, you know, feel that in your pocketbook as if you would when you were in private practice. The needs, we always learn, right? The needs of the Navy comes first. Well, it just so happened that the needs of the Navy was to make you as great of a clinician as you could be. And it was win-win because we were all looking for the same thing. So what a wonderful perspective to have. Appreciate the answer. So maybe we can move forward just a bit. And I want to dial you into one of our mission statements, one of our statements related to our mission is to improve oral health through service to the diverse community of patients who entrust themselves with our care. And that's one of the things that we kind of hold near and dear to our heart here at Pitt Dental Medicine. And when I think of that, I think, boy, the parallel into military service of so many humanitarian missions is just so logical to talk about now. And I'd love it if you could talk a little bit and share a little bit about your experiences in those missions and how they help shape your career, shape your identity as a healthcare provider, and just give everyone a little snapshot of just the wealth of experiences that you've had in that arena. So, I'd welcome any one of you to unmute and go ahead and start. Feel like you'd like to share. Sure, Priscilla, please.
I felt just about every day in a clinical practice was a humanitarian mission for most of our soldiers, because a lot of them come from a disadvantaged background where they did not have access to care. And it was wonderful by the virtue of them wearing their uniform that they did not have to pay for any of the care, and they got the very best. So I think we were well prepared if you were going anywhere else in the world. My eyes were opened in Desert Shield, Desert Storm when we had activated a number of reservists and National Guardsmen who again did not have routine dental care like you would on active duty. And it was a big challenge to take care of them in a pretty austere environment, but it was very worthwhile and rewarding. Over.
Thank you. Great answer.
Yeah, Marnie, this is Rick, and I just do want to jump on what Priscilla said and just say, I agree. You know, we get the privilege of serving the most deserving men and women in the world. So there's really just a great feeling about that. And whether it's, I know a lot of us had been in combat situations. I got to be in a Role 3 trauma hospital in Kandahar, and just the fact that you can provide hope, which is what we were, the beacon of hope for people to go out and do some really difficult things in the name of our country. Really an amazing feeling. But you mentioned other humanitarian care. The Navy, we're lucky enough that has global health engagement as part of its strategy to build partnerships around the world, whether that's our hospital ships or from a gray hull. We have 2 ongoing missions, Continuing Promise, which serves the countries of South America, and Pacific Partnership, which serves our Indo-Pacific region too. I was lucky enough to go on a global health engagement mission to Central and South America. It was formative. I can't tell you what it felt like to not only the amazing experience of flying to work every day off a LHD, a ship, and flying a helicopter, land in a remote village, carry all your gear in, have everybody there who've been lined up for 2 or 3 days, lining the streets as close as I'm ever going to feel like a rock star, clapping, you get there because they've been waiting 3 or 4 days just to get care. That's how rare that is. And to change people's lives that way, I mean, you're really providing life-changing care. And the care is so impactful. It always stays with me to this day, is people measure time by the impact of those deployments. They would say things like, when was your granddaughter born? Oh, my granddaughter was born 2 years before the Americans were here. That's how seminal that moment was. And just to be part of that was incredible. And then I would be remiss to say, even watching, I think for all of us, that engagement, as Priscilla said, can happen right here in our country. Is no one will forget our USNS Comfort hospital ship pulling into New York Harbor and providing care to, our own country in a time of pandemic. So just really be honored to be part of that. Changed my life.
Kind of like just gave me some goosebumps because we just came off of Mission of Mercy here in Pittsburgh, where, big event, as you all know, in dentistry. And, although it was incredibly impactful, not meaning to lessen that event in any way, but at such an international resource level, it just means so much more. I mean, it's just a fantastic level of care and humanitarianism that it's just wonderful to see our servicemen and women providing that. Dr. Rivera, you look like you're ready to say something. Pete.
I just want to echo, kind of what some of the other folks said, that one of the things that still amazes me to this day, that sometimes we will still get, young sailors, airmen, soldiers, when they come to see us in the clinic, it's the first time that they've ever been to the dentist. That will never, that is one thing that, we kind of take for granted because of the way we were brought up. But, just to see, somebody who's never been to the clinic before, or who's never had comprehensive dental care come in, it's kind of mind-blowing the first time you come across that. My career's been long enough that I've seen it several times, but another thing about the military is that it is such a diverse community. So, we get to interact with people from so many different backgrounds and cultures. It's that aspect of it is one of the things that's kind of a plus to the military too. But also similar to what Dr. Friedman had been talking about, I had deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. And in Afghanistan especially, I was a part of the Special Forces group at that time. So I would go out into the mountains with them to kind of provide dental care so that, maybe we could gather some intelligence. But the first time I did it, it dawned on me that, I was dealing with people that had never been further than they can walk. So that's quite a perspective on your world when there's people here that they've never been beyond the confines of their city or just as far as they could walk is their view of the world. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty eye-opening the first time I had to sit down and think about that for a while.
That's an incredible statement, right? The world is so much bigger than what we know. So much bigger.
Yeah.
And how wonderful to have a part of that. Sean.
Yeah. So, just to add to that, I think one of the great value propositions of military dentistry, military medicine is that global reach. The fact that we train a cohort of people that anytime, anywhere that they're called upon can go overseas in CONUS with capability. Because remember, it's not just, the people are important, but it's the systems that support the people, the medical supplies, the equipment, the knowledge of how to come into an area, triage, treat, and then move out, right, is something that I think exists in the military that we kind of take for granted, but it's pretty incredible, a lot of the things that we can do. And I'll just tell you, it's been the thing that has kept me in uniform, because I never planned on staying in uniform for a career, right? Very fortunate and appreciative of the American people that sent me to do a trauma fellowship in an underserved community, Houston, Texas. And then, by the way, I did I started my fellowship September 2001. right? So when I did my utilization tour at Brooke Army Medical Center, and then when I went on to take command and deploy as a commander in theater, and we were able to do humanitarian missions, that really is what kept me in uniform, is this ability to be able to see beyond just, hey, here's my skill set, but here's what we can do for humanity. Because I've always felt that, the great value proposition of military medicine and military dentistry is that what we in uniform and all of you who have served represent is an unbroken chain of trust between the American people and its armed forces, so that when folks send their children, into harm's way and they raise their right hand, they know that there's a system behind them that will do the very best that we can to take care of them should they need us. And that just doesn't exist anywhere. And it's the thing that's kept me in uniform all these years. Over.
Yeah, never say never, right? Thanks for that. It's amazing to think of. It's not just what we're doing, it's understanding. You guys are showing your high level of training and experience when you're talking so strategically about the level of support. It's just not getting in there and doing the dentistry, but it's understanding the level of support behind that and how important that is to these folks. I want to pivot just a tiny bit. Teresa, I've heard you talk a little bit, or whether it's through email or not, but I've heard you mention a bit about what the military career has done for you related to your practice, and how, I'm thinking particularly, I'm going to feed you now, how you talked specifically about COVID and what kind of leverage that your military career provided for you. And I'd love to hear you share a little bit about that, if you would.
So what was great about the military, and what I don't think, again, I think everyone should go through the dental corps when they get out of, forget your two-year AEGD or your 1 year this. I think military service is very important. And I've always believed that you should serve the military regardless of your rank for at least a couple of years. Everyone should do it. I was born and bred military. I'm about 7th generation as far as we can go back. 3rd generation United States military. My father was Air Force. My mother was in the military as well. She was Air Force. Her sister was Air Force. Her brother was Air Force. My grandfather was Army. My other grandfather was Navy. It just stems back down the line. So I'm already bred into this lifestyle, and I'm used to it. My dad didn't give me chores. He gave me detail. So I'm used to this sort of mentality. But what I really think with just doing everything with the military, it really gave me, number one, it gave me a lot of confidence in dentistry. You get out of dental school, you might as well just throw your books away. Y'all learned what y'all learned, throw it out. You're not going to do it the same way. But what was great about that is you're right. I got paid. I took the week course endodontics at Fort Gordon. I took a week long at Fort Sam Houston. I did laser training. I was able to do a BSSO with Colonel Icashano at Fort Benning, and actually on Captain Josh Blackman, because we decided to do his surgery while he was there, because ortho was there for the 1 year AEGD. These are opportunities you don't get in private practice. You just don't. And when it came to that training, it made me more solid as a dentist. You're going to pick up speed. You're going to have to get fast. Do you know what it's like trying to deploy third ID and you've got a ton of Cat 3 sitting around? It's not going to be easy. You've got a lot of work. Teaches you management. So not only do I felt more proficient, but dentistry is management. I got thrown into 30th AG not knowing anything, having to run a clinic, which is basically in processing of all of the, new recruits. You're looking at 16, 17, 18-year-olds, depending upon how they got released from their parents, who half them had L&R written on their boots. You're doing their dentistry. You are getting them prepared. You've got 16 weeks to get them before they get recycled. This is all teaching you time management. Dentistry is nothing but management. You're managing staff, you're managing your office, you're managing your bills, you're managing your schedule, you're managing your patient, you're managing their anesthesia. If you don't get into some sort of format and learn processes and procedures, there's no hope in dentistry. That's where people go crazy. And the Army does a great job of getting you into a box and teaching you how to think in the box. And then when you get really, really good at that, they teach you how to think outside the box. And that's the one thing that I think is the best, is their structure. I love structure. I run my office like I ran Solomon. It's the same way.
What dentist doesn't love structure? Come on.
And seriously, you know how many millimeters to
well.
reduce supposedly, first and second plane reduction. But
Of
I mean,
course.
taking that off your plate, transitioning from dentistry in the military, transitioning to private practice, I'm going to tell you, was hard. It was not easy. I kept calling it sick call. I couldn't get away from certain mentalities. And when you're trying to transition, that transition is not easy because you're used to that structure. If you don't learn the structure, though, you don't know how to reel it back in and then actually do the dentistry and do the business as you want to. I think military would have been a great long-time career for myself if it wasn't for family.
Yeah, amen. Priscilla, I saw you smiling quite a bit during Teresa's answer. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your transition as well, and what you brought, obviously, from the military back to and what you leveraged back into your practice, and then a little bit about that transition and how things were different.
Well, I never had the opportunity for private practice. I did serve for a couple of years in a dental hygiene program as a clinical supervisor at a local school here in Erie until the school closed. But I think just what Teresa was saying, there's an awful lot of structure. We have organization with a capital O. And when we walk into a room, all of that which has built us to the level of where we are now is exuded. We cannot help it. It's in our DNA. So you get tapped into leadership positions, whether it be in church, Rotary, Master Gardeners, whatever organization you choose to be in, because that's just who you are. And our culture of service spills over into our civilian life as we want to continue to serve the communities we live in. So that's my transition. I'm kind of minimally involved with dentistry. I'm still interested in, I'm kind of working with our local VA to see what we can do on transporting our homeless veterans, perhaps to a Mission of Mercy in Pittsburgh, because we've only had one MOM here in Erie. And so that's an avenue that we're looking to capitalize on. Over.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for working on that. What an incredible journey to do that. I would love to see that come to fruition. Maybe we should talk after the call at some time.
Okay.
We can help out. So listen, I'd love to get a tiny bit lighthearted and transition just a bit and talk a little bit about Pittsburgh and the Yinzer in you all. And if I could dial into that just for a bit, we all know that long military careers, even short military careers, come with a lot of movement, a lot of places, a lot of journeys, a lot of places to call home. So I'd love to hear from you all about what you consider home, and where is your home, and what do you consider home at this point in your careers? And as you look back on your assignments, I'd love to hear a little bit about your interactions with Pittsburgh and how that happens. Sometimes it's through people, sometimes it's through things, and what aspect of Pittsburgh you missed most. So what's home, your Pittsburgh interactions, and what you missed the most from Pittsburgh. Rick, you want to go first?
Marnie, you knew I was just waiting all, I suffered through the rest of it just to get to this part here.
I know.
You know I was waiting for this.
I know.
No, that's great. Actually, it's funny. I've moved 15 times. I'm sure my colleagues will shake their head with me too. So I don't know where home is anymore. It's wherever my family is, quite frankly. Got 4 kids, woo, 3 out of the house, one still here. But my wife and I got married 3rd year of dental school. Our reception was on the Liberty Bell, woo, part of the Gateway Clipper fleet, right? So that was pretty cool. So my kids have, my family has 3 rivers in their blood, so that we're there. But you don't realize how much Pitt meant to you until you got to go back. So I've got to go back in my Navy career a few times, looking at partnerships with the University of Pittsburgh, where we're looking at trauma and our ability to train our surgeons and as well as our other providers for forward deployment and starting that up. But getting to go back just makes you realize how much you missed it and what a seminal part of your life Pittsburgh was. So I don't know if we're gonna get to it, but
we're going to get to it. We'll give you time you got more than that, right?
I'll give one teaser here too.
Here's your teaser. All right. I'm coming back to you.
All right. I'll let my other colleagues go, but Pitt meant very much to me and still does in my heart.
Thank you so much. Teresa, what do you say?
Well, I mean, kind of home is where I'm at, and Texas is home. I'm slowly evolving. My voice is slowly changing. So Yin's got turned to y'all. So unfortunately, there's a little change in that. It's 80 degrees out today, so I'm definitely not missing the Pittsburgh weather, but I do miss the change of seasons. I miss Primanti Brothers. I miss the O Fries, although I heard that closed.
It just closed.
I'm gonna get all emotional. No, it's French fries. I get it. I mean, I miss Pittsburgh. You know, I miss the time I had during school. I couldn't wait to graduate. And now I think about the times that I go through it. You know, I really, not to sound all mushy, but I really do thank Pitt a lot. It's why I work so much with the Chancellor Circle, the 1787 Society. I work with the Alumni Office. I work with Matt Ionazzo till he moved. You know, I do a lot. I always make sure I donate to the white coat ceremony. That's really important. I remember they mispronounced my name during when I got mine, so I will hold that to the day I die. But you know, I take part in this because I don't think that these students understand how lucky they are. Pitt didn't have to accept me. You know, I only applied to one dental school, but because of the foundation they gave me and the education they gave me, it's allowed me a lifestyle that I'm happy with. I'm not worried. I know if I get into a situation, I'm going to figure a way out of it. And yeah, that's a lot of military training too, but I do think Pitt does a good job of sculpting you for that as well. And I thank them. I thank them every day because I wouldn't be here without them.
Great. Thank you. What about you, Pete?
Well, Pittsburgh, like I said earlier, Pittsburgh will always be home, but you know, I don't know if when my career's over, if I'll end up back there, but you know, everywhere I go, Pittsburgh goes with me. And, you know, every time I've been deployed, there's been a terrible towel hanging wherever my clinic is. That's for sure. And then if you talk to my wife, she will be the first one to tell you that it doesn't matter where we live. We've always had satellite TV, and it's only for one reason, so that I can watch the Steelers and the Penguins. So my wife hates DirecTV because they have a monopoly on football. So I always have a satellite dish no matter where I live. So you know, we lived in Hawaii for 5 years, and in order to get DirecTV, you have to have this monster satellite dish in your backyard, which she really hated. But you know, like Dr. Heaton said, I really miss Primanti Brothers, and we had, especially our class, Marnie, we have a very unique tie to Primanti Brothers because one of our classmates, their family owns it, and we used to go down there all the time on weekends. So. You know, I missed that aspect of the city. I did have a unique opportunity to go home for a couple of years and teach at the university. You know, an opportunity came up at the right time after I had been, you know, I was deployed, you know, almost 18 out of 36 months and just needed to walk away for a little while, and had the opportunity to stay in the Pennsylvania National Guard and teach at Pitt for a couple of years. And ironically, taking that 2-year break and moving to the National Guard got me promoted to colonel sooner. So you never know what kind of good fortune is going to smile on you. But, you know, when it snows, I miss Pittsburgh sometimes when we get snow here. It's not the same kind of snow you get there. Although this past year, General Bagby will tell you, we had a monster of a snowstorm here in San Antonio. It just absolutely crippled the city.
Crippled Dallas too.
Yeah. And you know what? I still had snow shovels, so I was shoveling everybody's sidewalk. So.
And you knew how.
But you know, it's been a great ride. Like Admiral Friedman said, you never know where you're going to get to live. So you know, I've lived just outside of Nashville. I lived just outside of Raleigh in Fayetteville, North Carolina, for about 10 years. I got to live in Honolulu, Hawaii. I live in San Antonio now. You know, I lived in Germany for 3 years. So it really has given me a worldview. Pittsburgh goes with me everywhere. I will always be a Yinzer, and my wife will be the first person to tell you that.
That's great. You know, Yinzer's an endearing term. It can be, it's funny. Sometimes it's used, you know, to really insult somebody, calling them a Yinzer, and other times it's much more a term of endearment. Listen, I want to be mindful of the time, and I'd love to get out just really one last question. Aside from, we need to make sure that Rick can show us his flash and flare that he's got going. So feel free to like pepper it in as we're talking, because we want to make sure we see what you got there. But maybe Priscilla and Sean can kind of help us get started with just some advice, because I can see that we have some of our students on the call, and I know some of them are already dedicated to military service. And some might have been like me, not dedicated until military service until graduation. And I'd love for you to offer some advice to them about either some time in the military or a career in the military, and what you think they need to hear now as they're making decisions about their futures. Feel free, Sean.
So first off, I appreciate the opportunity. I think that, and I agree with Teresa. I think that whether you plan on making the military a career or not, and to be quite frank with you, I don't think any of us who made it a career decided up front we were going to make it a career. We just found something, or we were in a situation we enjoyed and stayed with it. But I think that in order to be successful in life, it takes three main things. So this is how I think of it. You have to work hard, right? By virtue of the fact that they're in dental school, they already know how to work hard. You need to have the right opportunities, right? Hard work without having opportunity to succeed and be noticed in that hard work is useless, because a lot of folks work hard, never become successful. And then the third thing is a supportive environment, not one that simply allows you to enter the room, but welcomes you and allows you to sit down at the table and really be a part of the team. And to me, that is what the military has always offered. The opportunity to express my hard work in an environment where there are lots of opportunities to grow, to get more education, to take on leadership roles, to be comfortable being uncomfortable, in an environment where you know that people aren't going to let you fall but so far before they catch you, dust you off and say, hey, keep going. I did part-time private practice because, again, I almost got out. I didn't plan on staying in. And the reason I stayed in was because I had wonderful people and mentors who helped guide me towards the kinds of opportunities that I couldn't necessarily see for myself, but that they recognized that I had the potential to achieve, right? And that's the only reason I'm sitting here as the Army Dental Corps chief with a star on my shoulder. It's because of folks like, Priscilla Hamilton and other mentors I've had. So I would say that if you're thinking about it, I think it's a wonderful opportunity. No matter what service you join, I'm partial to the Army. That's where my allegiance is. Sorry, Rick, but this is recruiting. But the just plain truth is that there is serving your country is a noble cause. You get lots of great training, lots of great education, and I think you'll make friends for life. And then if you decide that, hey, it's not for you because either you want to go into private practice or it's not right for your family, that is a personal decision that is just fine. As the chief dental officer for the Army, the only thing I ask people to do is that while you serve, be a good soldier, be a good dentist, be a good soldier. And when you leave, you're going to take a legacy and you're going to take friends with you. And I don't see a negative in that. Over.
Very good. Thank you.
Sean is far too kind calling me a mentor, because really the first time I met him, he had the command that I had had a few years before. And I walked, and this was in Germany, and I walked into his office. I think I was in civilian clothes. He goes, well, who are you and what are you doing here? I go, hi, I'm Priscilla. I'm a Pitt graduate, and it's nice to see you too. And we've been friends ever since. But that is one of the most brilliant men I have ever served with. He is a true gem to dentistry and to the Army and to military dentistry. But I echo what he says. If you want to become a well-rounded, ethical dentist, you will seek some time in the military, whether that is 4 years or 30 years. And you will have lifelong friends and have a perspective on your practice and your profession that is just unparalleled. And it was mentioned before, nowhere else can you rub shoulders with board certified specialists with no economic competition, but only there for the purity of practice and doing what's best for your patients. And that is a gift that you just, it can't be exchanged. It's wonderful. So I heartily endorse it. Military is not for everybody. It may not be for a whole career, but it certainly has been very good to me. Kind of like baseball, I suppose, but it's been very, very good to me. And I'm very happy with my choice. And I would have gone in the Navy because I come from a Navy family. But at that time, women were not allowed on blue water ships. So don't put an impediment in my way. I will find a way around it. That's why I'm in the Army. And Dad said I'd like camping. So here I am.
Yes, ma'am. There you go. That's excellent. Listen, I can't thank you all enough. I think we're getting close to the time where we really need to consider wrapping up. But Rick Friedman, I need to know what else you have there that you take with you on your deployments, because, you know, you started talking like there's way more than that towel.
Marnie, thanks. And I would be remiss because apparently I've been carrying this around for 31 years or so. You know, I don't know if the Pitt News is still, I don't know if you guys can see that. That's my Pitt
Here we
News.
go, the Pitt News.
See from when, right? And the most important thing I wanted all the students to know, because we talk about Primanti Brothers and we talk about the we talk about CJ Barney's, but for us, it was about Capri Pizza. You can see this. And if you can see that price, $3.99 for a large pizza and 2 liters of Pepsi delivered.
The Pizza Wars.
That 1987 wasn't a bad year, but I just had to show that too. And if you just allow me to echo, because I don't want to leave it on the Capri Pizza, although that is important. Thank you for putting this together and allowing us to be with some amazing colleagues and just hear some amazing stories. I will leave you, my thoughts is, if you serve 3 years or 30 years, you get to be part of something that's much bigger than yourself. And you get to see so much of humanity that really, it gives you such incredible hope, especially when you see the most deserving men and women in the world, you know, are those who wear the cloth of our nation, those who are retired and wore a cloth of our nation. You get to treat them. You get to never ask them how sick they can afford to be, right? You do the top quality care that you feel comfortable with. And that's really what the service affords. All the personal benefits aside, that's been the thing that's kept me in uniform. And it's been a pleasure to be part of this panel. I will put one last plug in for the Navy. Yes, Army, Air Force, wonderful. But until you're, you know, doing a root canal on a ship, you learn about chair position and you learn about finger rests, because when the ship's moving 20 degrees list, it'll teach you something. So,
amen to bungee cords.
That's right.
What a wonderful, wonderful night. Listen, this has been the highlight of my year. So thank you all for being here. Dr. Bagby, Dr. Rivera, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Heaton, Dr. Friedman, thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us your perspectives on your military careers and for being such wonderful Pitt alums that we are so very proud of. We can't thank you enough, and we really, truly wish you great safety to you and your families, and look forward to hearing from you again. And please do stop by when you're in town. And I'm going to pass it over quickly to Jim Earl and let him wrap this up today. Thank you for letting me be part of this. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marty.
Dr. Oakley, for hosting the discussion, and thank you to all of our panelists for the wonderful, wonderful discussion. After each one of our Living Our Legacy series panel discussions, I recall thinking, gosh, I wish that could have gone longer. And tonight was no doubt. It was so wonderful to hear from each of you about your stories and your connection to the university. And we're so grateful for you giving us this time. We're also grateful for your service to our country. Thank you so much for that as well. I also want to say a thank you to Becca Anthony and Teresa Compton, since this is our last Living Our Legacy panel discussion. They were really instrumental in planning these discussions and in making sure all the logistics could happen so that these could come to life. So thank you both so much for all you did this year. We have typically left the Zoom on for a few minutes after 8 o'clock. So if people want to stay and informally connect and you see somebody on the call that you have a chance to say hi to, you're welcome to do that. We'll leave it on for a little bit here. But I really can't say enough about these panel discussions and how wonderful they've been as a chance to hear about some of the history of our 125 years. And to have you on this discussion tonight was really meaningful. So thank you all so much. And for those who have attended multiple sessions, because I know I see a number of names who were at a lot of our panel discussions, thank you so much for your participation and your engagement with the university. We really appreciate it. So have a wonderful evening, and some of us will stay on for a little bit if you'd like to stay around.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks again, everyone. What an honor.